Episode 15, The Rooted Truth. Sabrina stood before the maze entrance, the fragmented lens revealing layers of magical disruption she'd never seen before. The root walls undulated with conflicting seasonal energies, ribbons of spring magic clashing against waves of autumn power. What had once been a stable, if mysterious, structure now seemed to breathe with chaotic life. "This is worse than I expected," she said, adjusting the lens to better track the energy flows. The ancient map in her hands hummed faintly, its markings shifting to match the maze's new configuration. The portal disturbances are affecting even these deep passages. Noah swept his scanner across the entrance. "Got multiple magical tripwires in the first chamber. Wasn't like this last time." The device's screen flickered with interference. Some kind of new defense mechanism? Nearby seedlings responded to Quill's essence, their leaves turning silvery as they detected safe paths between the invisible barriers. Sabrina watched their movements through the lens, noting how they traced specific patterns through the chaos. "Quill's showing us the way," she said, following the seedlings' guidance into the first chamber. "The maze is protecting itself from external threats, but it still recognizes us as allies." They navigated carefully through the chamber, stepping precisely where the seedlings indicated. Noah's equipment chirped warnings whenever they came close to a tripwire, the sound mixing with the low hum of magical energy surrounding them. As they entered the next corridor, Sabrina gasped. Seasons cycled through the space at impossible speed, autumn leaves swirled upward from the ground, dissolving into spring blossoms that bloomed and withered in heartbeats. Summer heat flashed to winter frost in endless loops. Through the lens, she observed the pattern hidden within the chaos. "Wait," she said, grabbing Noah's arm before he could step forward. "Look at how the cycles repeat. It's not random, it's a sequence we need to match." She studied the rhythm: 3 steps during the autumn surge, pause through winter, 2 quick steps in spring, then hold position as summer heat flared. They moved together through the corridor, timing each movement to the seasonal pulses. At the next junction, root walls twisted themselves into an ever-changing display of seasonal symbols, a spring flower morphing into a summer sun, transforming to an autumn leaf, then a winter snowflake. Noah's scanner recorded each transition while Sabrina compared the sequence to their map. "These symbols match locations marked on the map," she said, tracing the pattern. "It's showing us which path corresponds to which season. We need to choose the one that matches the current sequence." Noah checked his readings. "The energy signature peaks on the winter symbol. That's our route." The moment they stepped toward the winter path, the other options sealed themselves with thick root barriers, confirming their choice. Sabrina felt Quill's essence surge through nearby plants, a warning. She raised the lens just as the floor ahead began to dissolve into a swirling vortex of seasonal magic. "There's another way," she said, consulting the map. Its markings rearranged themselves, revealing a series of hidden stepping stones. "But we'll need to move in perfect sync to activate them." They positioned themselves on opposite sides of the vortex. "Ready?" she asked. Noah nodded. Together, they stepped onto the first stones, their synchronized movements triggering magical platforms that solidified just long enough for them to cross. The final chamber stopped them short. Where they'd previously found a straight passage, now roots twisted in impossible geometries, forming new paths that seemed to defy physics. Sabrina held up the lens, watching as the map actively adjusted itself to the new configuration. The maze isn't just changing randomly, she realized, studying how the new paths aligned with the tree's energy flows. It's responding to the tree's distress, reorganizing itself to channel and stabilize the disrupted magic. Through the lens, she could see how each new configuration followed the tree's attempts to balance the conflicting seasonal energies. The map continued updating, its ancient magic working to guide them through the maze's evolution. "The original path is gone," Noah said, checking his scanner. "But these readings suggest the new routes all lead to the same core. The maze is giving us options based on current magical conditions. Sabrina studied the shifting passages through the lens, watching how Quill's essence flowed through the roots. The seedlings around them swayed in response to unseen currents of power, their movements matching the patterns displayed on their map. Sabrina studied the swirling barrier of magic before them, its surface rippling with clashing seasonal energies. Through the fragmented lens, she could see how the trap's structure demanded perfect equilibrium to allow passage. "We need to balance both seasonal aspects simultaneously," she explained, gesturing to the intricate patterns visible through the lens. Halloween and spring magic, in perfect harmony. Noah positioned himself on the opposite side of the barrier. Like a magical tug-of-war? More like a dance. Sabrina reached out with her magic, drawing on the spring energy that flowed through the maze. She felt its vibrant, renewal-focused power respond to her touch. Beside her, Noah concentrated on the Halloween aspects, his presence steady as he channeled the more mysterious, shadowy elements. The barrier between them began to shift, responding to their efforts. Sabrina adjusted her output, watching through the lens as the energies started to align. Noah's Halloween magic wove through her spring energy in an intricate pattern, creating moments of perfect balance. "There," she called out as a stable window formed in the barrier. They stepped through quickly, the opening sealing behind them with a soft pulse of magic. The next challenge made Sabrina's heart skip. A deep chasm stretched before them, with no visible means of crossing. The map in her hands shimmered, its markings suggesting an invisible bridge, one that would only manifest after the first person stepped out. "The map shows this is a test of trust," she said, studying the ancient markings. "One of us has to step into what looks like empty space." Noah checked his scanner. No physical bridge structure showing up on readings. "But there's definitely magic here." Sabrina took a deep breath, watching how Quill's essence flowed confidently through nearby plants. The seedlings bent toward the chasm, their leaves glowing with reassurance. "I'll go first." She stepped forward, her foot hovering over the void. The map pulsed in her hands, its magic resonating with her decision. Closing her eyes, Sabrina took that impossible step, and felt solid ground beneath her foot. "It's real," she called back to Noah. "The bridge appears as you walk across." They navigated through a section where reality seemed to fold in on itself. Paths crossed at impossible angles, defying normal geometry. Through the lens, Sabrina watched as corridors twisted into Mobius strip configurations, while Quill's seedlings marked safe routes through the spatial distortions. "My equipment's going haywire," Noah said, tapping his malfunctioning scanner. "These distortions weren't here during our last visit. The maze is adapting. Look at this." Sabrina pointed out scorch marks on a nearby wall, where someone had tried to force their way through. The lens revealed crystallized fragments of corrupted spring magic scattered around the damage. "Someone's been trying to break in." Noah examined the crystallized magic. "These look fresh. The collector? Or someone working with them?" Sabrina studied how the maze had reinforced itself around the breach attempts, weaving additional layers of protection into its structure. The map updated continuously, showing how each failed intrusion had prompted new defensive patterns. They reached a chamber that seemed to pulse with personal significance. Through the lens, Sabrina saw their own doubts and fears about maintaining balance reflected in the swirling magical patterns. The map's markings identified this as the final test, one of genuine conviction. "It's reading our intentions," she realized, watching how the chamber's magic responded to their presence. "We have to prove our commitment to preserving both seasonal aspects." Noah stepped forward, his expression resolute. "Not just protecting them separately, but understanding how they work together." Sabrina felt Quill's essence surge through the chamber as they approached its center. The lens revealed an extraordinary sight, the map's intricate pattern perfectly aligned with both Quill's distinctive star marking and the tree's root structure. All three designs overlapped in a complex geometric harmony that seemed to hold deeper meaning. "This can't be coincidence," she said, adjusting the lens to better study the alignment. The seedlings around them glowed brighter, their leaves shifting to mirror the same pattern. "Quill's connection to the tree goes deeper than we realized." Sabrina's breath caught as they entered the core chamber. Bioluminescent roots spiraled across the walls and ceiling, casting an ethereal glow that made the weathered stone altar at the center seem almost alive. Through the fragmented lens, she observed layers upon layers of ancient magic, each one intricately woven into the chamber's structure like threads in a tapestry. Every strand connected back to the tree's essence, creating a complex magical web that took her breath away. "This is incredible," she whispered, watching the patterns shift and dance through the lens. The magic here felt different, older, deeper, more fundamental to Hallowville's nature than anything she'd encountered before. Beside her, Noah consulted his equipment with wide eyes. "These readings are off the charts. I've never seen magical signatures this complex." He moved closer to the altar, his scanner emitting a series of rapid beeps. The altar's surface caught Sabrina's attention, its stone face rippling like liquid mercury. As she watched, intricate carvings emerged and shifted, telling stories through moving images. She saw other towns, other magical hubs scattered across the region, each one connected by flowing lines of power that reminded her of constellations. A sudden golden flash drew her gaze. One of Quill's seedlings had broken away from the others, its glow intensifying until it nearly matched the chamber's ambient light. Sabrina raised the lens to study it, noting how its magical signature differed from its siblings. This one carried deeper complexities, layers that reminded her of Quill's original form, complete with that familiar warmth and intelligence she'd known so well. "Look at this one," she said, gesturing Noah closer. "Its energy pattern is completely unique." As she studied the altar's shifting carvings, the special seedling pulsed with purpose, drawing her attention to specific sections. Golden light illuminated portions of the story, revealing the tree's true nature. Through the lens, Sabrina watched in amazement as the images showed how the tree had been meant to serve as a hub in a vast network, connecting multiple communities like Hallowville through perfectly balanced magical channels. It was never meant to stand alone, she realized, understanding dawning. The tree was supposed to be part of something bigger. When her fingers touched the altar's surface, the unique seedling synchronized with her heartbeat, its pulses matching her own. Noah's scanner whirred with excitement. "This is fascinating," he said, checking the readings. "The seedling's energy frequency, it's exactly what we'd need to stabilize those portal disruptions we've been seeing around town." Ancient text began appearing on the altar's surface, the letters flowing like water until they formed clear messages. Sabrina leaned in close, translating the archaic script. "The tree's power grows through perfect balance," she read aloud. "When Halloween and spring magic flow as one, true strength emerges." As if responding to her words, the special seedling began to glow with dual energy. Halloween magic swirled around it in deep purple streams, while spring magic manifested as golden spirals. The two forces didn't compete or cancel each other out, instead, they danced together in perfect harmony, something Sabrina had never witnessed before. "That shouldn't be possible," she breathed, watching through the lens as the balanced energies stabilized each other. "Seasonal magic usually resists this kind of blending." The seedling's demonstration continued, its dual nature illuminating more of the altar's secrets. Each pulse of combined energy revealed new layers of the ancient text, expanding their understanding of the tree's purpose and potential. Noah adjusted his scanner, capturing every detail of the unprecedented magical display. If this seedling can maintain both types of magic simultaneously, it might be the key to understanding how the tree was meant to function. Sabrina watched the harmonious flow of seasonal magic, remembering how Quill had always seemed to understand something deeper about Hallowville's nature. Now, through this special seedling, that understanding was finally becoming clear. The chamber's bioluminescent roots pulsed in response to the seedling's display, creating patterns that matched the altar's moving images. Through the lens, Sabrina could see how every element in the room was connected, all of it tied to the tree's fundamental purpose of creating and maintaining magical balance. Sabrina's fingers traced the altar's surface as concern creased her brow. The tree's been so unstable lately. If it's meant to be part of a larger network, that instability could spread. The special seedling pulsed in response, its golden light expanding outward. Above the altar, a miniature version of Hallowville materialized, composed entirely of shimmering magical threads. Through the fragmented lens, Sabrina watched lines of power weave through the projection, creating an intricate tapestry of seasonal energies. "Noah, look at this," she breathed, adjusting the lens. "These darker spots, they're showing us exactly where the disruptions are happening." The projection highlighted areas of magical turbulence, particularly around the recent portal openings. But it also revealed potential paths of stabilization, shown as delicate golden threads that could reconnect the fractured network. The altar's surface rippled again, its carvings morphing to display scenes from the past. Sabrina watched as images formed of other magical hubs where hasty growth had led to disaster. In one scene, a surge of unchecked spring magic shattered a community's protective barriers. In another, forced Halloween magic created unstable portals that couldn't be closed. The special seedling punctuated each warning with sharp pulses of energy that made the hair on the back of Sabrina's neck stand up. Its message was clear: balance couldn't be rushed or forced. "These markings are fascinating," Noah said, crouching to examine a series of symbols near the altar's base. "They're talking about guardians, look here." He pointed to a recurring pattern. "It says the tree needs protectors who can channel both seasonal aspects equally." As Noah documented the symbols with his camera, the special seedling's energy reached out to Sabrina. Its magic intertwined with hers in a familiar way that made her heart ache with recognition. The sensation reminded her of Quill's presence, but deeper, more purposeful. She realized with sudden clarity that Quill's transformation hadn't been an ending, it had been preparation for this moment. "I think I understand now," she said softly. Quill knew this was coming. The transformation, spreading through the root system, it was all to help prepare the way for proper guardianship. The seedling guided her hand to a specific section of the altar where the carvings showed a network of communities connected by balanced magical flows. The pattern exactly matched the map they'd found in the blooming lockbox, but now Sabrina could see the deeper meaning behind those connections. "Sustainable growth," she murmured, studying the images through the lens. "When the seasonal magic is properly balanced, it creates stable bridges between magical communities. That's what the tree was meant to foster." Noah looked up from his documentation. "And that's probably why the collector's been trying to interfere. Corrupting these connections would give them incredible power over multiple magical hubs." At the mention of the collector, the special seedling flared brightly. A dome of perfectly balanced magic materialized around them, its surface shimmering with intertwined Halloween and spring energies. Through the lens, Sabrina could see how this protective barrier worked. Neither seasonal force dominated the other, creating an impenetrable shield against magical tampering. "This is what proper guardianship looks like," she said, watching the balanced energies flow. "Protection through harmony rather than force." As they prepared to leave the chamber, the special seedling's light intensified. Sabrina felt its energy reaching for her, not with Quill's familiar playfulness, but with purposeful intent. The seedling's magic merged with her own, its dual nature settling into her magical core like it had always belonged there. Through the fragmented lens, she watched in wonder as new connections formed. Golden threads of energy linked her to the Tree of Seasons, while darker strands connected her to Quill's essence throughout Hallowville. The merger felt right, as if she'd finally found a missing piece of herself. "The seedling, it's bonded with me," she explained to Noah, still adjusting to the new sensation. "I can feel both seasonal aspects now, working together instead of competing." She lowered the lens, but the awareness of those connections remained, a constant reminder of her enhanced role as guardian. Noah studied his scanner readings with raised eyebrows. Your magical signature has changed. It's showing perfect seasonal balance, just like the protective barrier the seedling created. Sabrina nodded, feeling the truth of his words in every pulse of her newly balanced magic. The seedling's bond had transformed her into a living bridge between Halloween and spring magic, exactly what the tree needed to grow safely and maintain its connections. Sabrina felt the change before she saw it, a sickening twist in the chamber's magical atmosphere that made her newly balanced core recoil. Through the fragmented lens, she watched in horror as the roots lining the walls pulled away, their healthy glow dimming to a sickly pallor. A tear appeared in the air, edges crackling with spring magic that felt wrong, too intense, too forced, like a parody of natural growth. The collector stepped through the portal, and for the first time, Sabrina saw them clearly. Layers of corrupted spring magic wrapped around their form like living vines, shifting and writhing with unnatural vitality. Their eyes blazed an acidic green, leaving trails of corruption wherever their gaze fell. Beside her, Noah's equipment squealed in protest, its displays flickering wildly. The readings are off the charts, Noah muttered, frantically adjusting dials. This isn't normal spring magic, it's been twisted somehow. The special seedling pulsed with protective energy, throwing up a barrier of perfectly balanced seasonal magic around the altar. Its response felt like an extension of Sabrina's own instincts now, their energies working in seamless harmony. A laugh echoed through the chamber, hollow and cold. Ah! The famous defensive barriers of Hallowville. The collector's voice carried the same wrongness as their magic. Did you think I hadn't studied them? Every portal incident, every magical disruption, they were all tests, teaching me exactly how your protections work. And more importantly, how to break them. Sabrina raised the lens, and her breath caught. Hidden markings covered the chamber walls, matching the patterns they'd found at the ritual site in the forest. The collector had been here before, many times, carefully laying the groundwork for this moment. You've been corrupting the chamber, she said, watching dark energy pulse through the hidden marks. Using the portals as cover to plant your magic. Clever girl. The collector raised their hands, and the markings flared to life. Through the lens, Sabrina watched spring magic surge unnaturally, overwhelming the chamber's careful balance. The carved stories on the altar began to warp, their meanings twisting as the tree's roots thrashed in obvious distress. Stop this, Sabrina demanded, channeling her newly balanced magic to reinforce the seedling's barrier. You're hurting the tree. The tree? The collector's laugh turned sharp. The tree is merely a conduit. What I want is this. They gestured to the root system spreading out from the chamber. Do you understand what the tree has given us? A network, connecting every major ley line intersection in the region. One push of corrupted spring magic, properly amplified, and the entire magical balance shifts permanently. Noah's scanner beeped urgently. Sabrina, these readings, if they succeed, it won't just affect Hallowville. The magical disruption would cascade through the entire network. Every connected hub would fall out of balance. Exactly. The collector's eyes flared brighter. Spring magic will dominate, as it should. No more of this tedious balancing act. Nature itself will bend to our will, growing and changing as we desire. The chamber groaned under the mounting pressure of corrupted magic. Through the lens, Sabrina watched the collector's power seep into the root system, spreading like poison through the tree's network. The special seedling's barrier held, but she could feel it straining against the assault. You don't understand what you're doing, Sabrina said, feeling the tree's pain through her new connection. This isn't how magic is meant to work. You can't force growth without consequences. The collector moved closer, their corrupted aura testing the edges of the barrier. I understand perfectly. I understand that progress requires sacrifice. That true power comes from dominance, not balance. And I understand that you're too late to stop what I've set in motion. Sabrina raised her hands, drawing on her connection to the balanced magic flowing through her core. But before she could channel it, the collector's corrupted energy surged through the chamber. Several massive roots tore free from the walls, their usual gentle glow replaced by a sickly green luminescence. To her horror, the roots whipped around and struck the tree's central mass, each impact sending shockwaves of pain through the magical network. The special seedlings barrier flared brightly, deflecting a corrupted root that would have struck her directly. The impact still rattled her bones, and she felt the seedling's protective magic strain under the assault. Fascinating, isn't it? The collector's voice dripped with false sympathy. How vulnerable the tree became after your little familiar's transformation. Such a shame about Quill. Though I must thank you, its disappearance made my work so much easier. Sabrina's grip tightened on the fragmented lens. Through its revealing power, she saw threads of truth woven through the collector's words, places where Hallowville's defenses had indeed weakened during Quill's transformation. But she also saw something the collector clearly missed, the way Quill's essence now flowed through the entire root system, subtle but far more widespread than before. You don't understand Quill at all, she said, drawing strength from that knowledge. Noah pulled the veiled journal from his pack, quickly flipping to a marked page. His voice took on the steady rhythm of an old incantation, words designed to disrupt corrupted magic. The collector's aura flickered, but then their eyes blazed with fury. Enough! They slashed their hand through the air. Cracks appeared in the chamber walls, spreading like lightning through stone. Magical energy began leaking from the fissures, creating a dangerous feedback loop with the corrupted spring magic already present. The special seedling's energy pulsed in Sabrina's mind, an urgent warning. Through their connection, she sensed the altar's foundation crumbling. The fragmented lens revealed the terrible truth: the collector's corrupted magic was reacting with the altar's ancient power, creating an unstable resonance that threatened to bring down the entire maze. We have to contain it, she called to Noah, who was already moving to brace one of the buckling walls with a stabilization spell. But the collector merely smiled, raising their hands to gather the wild energies swirling through the chamber. The unstable magic coalesced into a swirling portal, its edges crackling with corruption. Thank you for the final piece of the puzzle, they said, stepping toward the portal. Now I know exactly how the tree's network responds to targeted corruption. The next time we meet, I won't need to test its defenses, I'll simply shatter them completely. Before Sabrina could respond, they stepped through the portal, which collapsed behind them with a thunderous crack. The chamber shuddered ominously, and she turned her attention to the altar. Its carvings shifted rapidly between seasons, spring flowers withering into autumn leaves, frost patterns melting into summer vines. Through the lens, she watched the destabilization spread through the root system like ripples in a pond, creating weak points throughout the network. Noah pressed his hand against one of the cracks, his scanner beeping frantically. The whole system's compromised. Whatever they're planning next. We'll target these vulnerabilities, Sabrina finished, watching through the lens as the magical instability continued to spread. The special seedling's energy hummed with determination, but she could feel how the corruption had shaken the very foundation of Hallowville's magical balance. She placed her hand on the altar, feeling the erratic pulse of its power. The collector had what they wanted, understanding of how to exploit the tree's network. Their next move wouldn't be another test. It would be an all-out assault on everything she protected.